It's time for NEC Women's Basketball on the Run. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ralph Ventre. Happy New Year. Let's dive right into the world of NEC Women's Basketball as conference play is underway. Let's take a look at where we stand. Only a small fraction of the way through the conference schedule. 3 unbeatens remain. Robert Morris, Mount St. Mary's, Sacred Heart, all leading the way. Sacred Heart, of course, 3-0, and that's despite a rash of injuries that have plagued the Pioneers. Shorthanded Sacred Heart still managing to find a way in its first 3 conference contests. Adrian Haygood scoring the basketball, the 3rd leading scorer in the conference at 16 points per game. And then, of course, the emergence of Olivia Dabney has helped the Pioneers since the start of NEC play. Dabney averaging 15 points and 9 rebounds per outing. The other undefeateds, Robert Morris and Mount St. Mary's, both 2-0. Robert Morris, of course, the defending champion, the unanimous preseason favorite. They're up to their old tricks again, tipped off the league schedule with road wins at Central Connecticut and at Merrimack. Return home to Pittsburgh at 2-0. Senior center Nneka Ezigbo leads the Northeast Conference in steals, and the Colonials, as usual, lead the circuit in team turnover margin. As for Mount St. Mary's, off to a 2-0 start under Maria Marquezano. Sophomore Michaela Harrison has had a hot hand of late. Nearly 20 points per NEC contest, shooting over 50% from the field in those first 2 Northeast Conference appearances. And the Mountaineers are on the move. Fairleigh Dickinson and St. Francis U, they have both won 2 of their first 3 Northeast Conference games, and that's where we stand only 8 days into the league slate. She gets buckets. And that would be St. Francis Brooklyn senior Jay Johnson, the Aussie-born guard, finished 2nd in the Northeast Conference amongst scoring leaders last season. She is 2nd once again, 17.1 points per contest thus far for Johnson. She has 5 20-point games, and she lit it up last time out against LIU in the Battle of Brooklyn. Johnson 7 for 10 from the field, including a 5 of 6 clip from downtown, victimizing the Sharks in the Terriers' victory. Johnson, in addition to ranking 2nd in scoring, she leads the Northeast Conference in 3-point field goals per game, knocking down 2.85 3 balls on average. And Jay Johnson, with her 25-point performance this past week, continued her climb up St. Francis Brooklyn's all-time scoring list. 1,365 career points for the senior from Australia. She's 7th in Terriers history right now. Could move up to 5th by the end of the weekend. Jay Johnson doing what she does best. She gets buckets. I'm calling the Twitter timeout. We'll take that 30, extend it to a full, and take a look at this tweet from NEC play-by-play voice Craig DAmico. DAmico and Pam Roker were back on the airwaves this past Wednesday as NEC women's basketball made its debut on SNY. Viewers were treated to the annual Battle of Brooklyn between St. Francis and LIU, and there will be plenty of more opportunities to watch the NEC on the tube in the coming weeks, whether it's on SNY or ESPN3. And DAmico and Roker will be the lead announcers for those telecasts. Roker, a former Wagner women's basketball coach, has been the NEC's color analyst for nearly 20 years. DAmico, well, you'll see a lot more of him moving forward. We'll have a weekly spot with Craig on the show beginning next week. And just a quick shout out to both Craig and Pam. We would like to thank them for their participation in the NEC All-Decade Team voting process. Both DAmico and Roker were an integral part of that process as the conference honored its top 10 performers from the past 10 years in NEC women's basketball. That's amazing. Merrimack senior forward Zinnia Davis-Stewart has not stopped. She tipped off the season with a triple-double, 14 games into the year. She's leading the Northeast Conference in both scoring and rebounding, averaging more than a double-double, in addition to her 5 blocks per game. Davis-Stewart averaging 5.1 block shots per game. That's second in all of Division I to only Brittany Brewer of Texas Tech. Davis-Stewart with 11 double-doubles in the season's first 14 contests, the third most double-doubles in Division I thus far this season. The numbers continue to pile up for Zinnia Davis-Stewart, and all I can say is stats amazing. And that'll do it for this episode of NEC Women's Basketball on the Run, but still there will be plenty more to come as the season unfolds. We're just getting started here on NEC Front Row. The women's schedule is ready to flip into its Saturday, Monday game day routine. We will be with you prior to the start of each weekend to give you the lowdown on NEC women's basketball. For NEC Front Row, I'm Ralph Ventre. I'll see you next week.